it's not necessary. I think yeah, you can stay with your background. Just know, yeah, you look like Avatar. Just know. Sorry.
Okay, thanks. I have
Honorable Mr. Izwan Izadi Azmi, our panels from University of Technology Mara, York St. John University, Institute of Technology Bandung, Volgograd State Medical University, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Ahmad Imran Ishaq, acting as the director of today's program, and I will also be serving as your moderator today. So first of all, I would like to welcome all of you to this program, UiTM Sports Town Hall, held by Teratai College Representative Committee, UiTM Shah Alam. So in this occasion, we shall have an outstanding discussion with our great panels from England, Russia, Indonesia, and Malaysia, whom I believe will enrich our insights and knowledge regarding how sports can be performed during this pandemic. So before we begin our discussion, allow me to introduce the panels first. So first we have Mr. Dylan Flower from York St. John University. So how's England, Mr. Dylan?
It's all right. It's warm now. Other than that, it's a bit boring because of the pandemic, but that's the way it is now, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
But other than that, it's all good.
All right. Glad to hear that. So all right. So can you tell a bit about yourself, Mr. Dylan? Which faculty, which course are you taking, and your year of study? So can you tell a bit about it?
So I'm currently studying physical education and coaching. Speaks for itself, really. I want to be a coach or a PE teacher one day. Pass on my knowledge to the next generation. I compete in football.
Oh,
and I used to swim, but not anymore.
Oh, all right. I see. It's because of the pandemic, is it?
Oh no, I stopped a long time ago.
Oh, I see.
But, yeah.
All right. But still, I hope you'll achieve what you wanted to accomplish. So thank you, Mr. Dylan. So next we have Mr. Ilyas Bianto from Institute of Technology Bandung. So Mr. Ilyas, can you tell a bit of introduction about yourself, Mr. Ilyas?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Imran, and all of the committee. I've been honored to be here with Mr. Anibal, Dylan, and also Mr. Maima. So, a bit about me. Right now, I'm studying in civil engineering major in Institute of Technology Bandung. So, right now, actually, I'm in a holiday, 3 months holiday. So, I already finished my 4th semester, and right now, I just doing some little bit project with my friends. I'm doing some competition, just a regular student thing. And right now I'm still, I'm waiting for my vaccination day in about 4th of July.
Oh, I see. Good luck with your vaccination, Mr. Ilyas, and happy holiday to you.
Thank you.
All right. So, but still, are you doing good today, Mr. Ilyas?
Yeah.
Are you doing good today?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. I'm very excited for this event because it's actually my first event, an international event with, in Russia and Malaysia and also England. This is my first time. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm more of excited, actually.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ilyas. So then I will introduce Mr. Anubhav Saswat from Volgograd State Medical University. So, Mr. Anubhav, can you give a bit of introduction about yourself, Mr. Anubhav?
Yes. First of all, I want to give my warm regards to my fellow panelists and the people who are watching this event. And actually, I'm from India, but living in Russia and representing my university, Volgograd State Medical University. And I am a final year medical student. I just about to complete my final year, and then I will pursue my degree in dermatologist, which very fascinates me.
All right.
And the first, after which fascinates me, and that's it. I don't want to say anymore. And
all right.
The takeaway point I want to keep my short due to the limited time. I want to keep myself short and as simple and as informative as possible. So I'm not going to take the whole much time of the people to make you bored and just skip. And there is no skipping option over here, I guess.
All right. Okay, it's okay, Mr. Anubhav. Okay, good luck for your final year on your study. So, okay. But still, are you prepared for this event, Mr. Anubhav?
Of course I am.
All right, nice. Very nice to hear that. So lastly, we have our lovely Miss Umaima from University of Technology Mara. So Miss Umaima, how are you feeling tonight?
Hi. Okay, so I'm feeling okay. In Malaysia, it's hot as ever. So just a little bit of an introduction, I guess. Okay,
Yes.
so my full name is Siti Umaima Huda binti Noraini, but you can call me Umaima or Huda, but usually Huda would be the most easiest to pronounce. Okay, and basically I'm also a medical student like Anuba, but I am in my second year only. Yeah, I'm only in my second year. So I'm also here as a representative from the Student Representative Council of UiTM Shah Alam. So looking forward to our program tonight, and it has been a pleasant time meeting with all the other panelists. So I hope tonight will be a great night.
All right. So thank you, Ms. Maya, for the introduction. And I see we have 2 medical students, 1 civil engineer, and also a coach to be. All right. So with all that, thank you, IB, to all our panels for attending to this meeting with me today. So without further ado, let's not waste our time. Let us start with our first topic for tonight, the most basic yet vital topic that would allow our audience to be aware of the current situation. So the question is, how do countries implement the lockdown or the standard operating procedure, which is the SOP, during this pandemic? So we shall start with Mr. Dylan Flower to give a brief explanation of the question, and the floor is yours, Mr. Dylan.
Thank you very much. I will also try and keep everything quite clear and simple because to be blunt, it wasn't handled very well here. We went into a lockdown after a few deaths, and the way the government did it was putting all its trust in its citizens, me being one of those, to make sure you stay inside, wash your hands, only go out for necessities, groceries and all that. You were allowed an hour of exercise a day, whether it be a walk or a run or something like that. We appeared that the lockdown was coming to an end, and we all thought, great, this is coming to the end of it now, we'll be fine. It turns out it wasn't like that. The R number went up, which is the conversion between infected to not infected people. We entered what our government called a tier list. And in that tier list, different cities were placed on different levels and had to abide by different rules to do with how many people were infected, how many people were dying. That didn't work because it still allowed people to travel around. Excuse me. So, for example, if London was in tier 4, which is really bad, and a place like Newcastle in the north of England was in tier 2 and had less restrictions, you could travel up there and, you could possibly infect more people. And then another lockdown came, and that stayed in place for a while, and we're slowly moving out of it with rules being taken away as the infection rate and death rate comes down. That's the basis of it here.
All right, so I think that's all from you, Mr. Dylan, I think. All right, so I think it is good that the England government trusted all the citizens to stay home. And also, I pray for England to recover from the pandemic cases quickly. And also, Malaysia also implemented many lockdown, just how the England government did. So I think that's all from you, I think, Mr. Dylan. So thank you, Mr. Dylan, for the brief explanation about the SOP in England. So let's move on to Mr. Ilyas for his answer to the first question. So, Mr. Ilyas, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Imran. For the record, I'm not an expert in this, topic, and I'm also a civil engineer. So, I don't really have any advantages in this topic, but I do some research, and I'm an Indonesian people myself. So, yeah. Okay, for the first, I need to recall in the first cases in Indonesia, it's actually in February 2020. Yeah, there's actually 2 people who got infected with COVID-19. 2 or 1, I forgot. I think 2, yeah. And then, the government didn't really think the COVID-19 is a big deal. So they just informed that COVID-19 is real, and they informed to stay healthy, to, there is one trend in Indonesia that to stay healthy, that is sunbathing. So people are, just go out from their home and then sunbathing like that. But in March, there is a big explosion of COVID-19 pandemic, and the government starting to realize that this is a big deal. And then the government starting to do the lockdown. It didn't last long. And I think it's too late, a little bit too late for the government of Indonesia to do the lockdown. You can see that, if you recall, that Indonesia was one of the nation has a highest mortality rate. Actually, Indonesia is the country with the highest mortality rate in Asia, and that is bad, of course. And I think the late of lockdown is one of the biggest factor that makes Indonesia has the highest mortality rate of this COVID-19 pandemic. So after the lockdown, and then there is a big downturn of economic condition in Indonesia, and then the government starting to introduce about the new normal, and everyone actually can pretty do much anything, but there is a strict health protocol in Indonesia. So it's just doing fine. Like, yeah, everyone can do anything, but right now the condition is getting worse. Actually, I think today the new cases every day is almost already touched a number of 12,000 new cases a day, which is crazy for me. We start in 2 cases, and then now we are right in the 12,000 cases new cases a day. So I think it's pretty big, pretty crazy for me. And also, now in Indonesia, the hospital is maybe full in some city. Like right now, I'm in Bandung, and the capacity of hospital is already full. You can literally see people laying on the ground and getting their treatment because there are no rooms anymore in the hospital. So right now in Indonesia is pretty much the worst one. And there is no phase 1, phase 2 in Indonesia. The curve is literally going up from the first until now. So I think we are still phase 1, no flattening at all. Yeah, I hope for the best right now. And that's all I know. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ilyas Pianto. From 2 cases to a lot of cases in Indonesia, I'm pretty sure that Indonesian citizens will work out something with keeping the social distancing working in order to prevent the cases to increase even further. So I hope that Indonesia will recover very quickly in terms, no matter from what terms, economic and everything, but the most important in terms of health. So thank you, Mr. Ilyas, for the explanation.
Oh, Emron. Wait, I'm sorry, but if there's any Indonesian audience right here right now and notice if I made a mistake, please correct me if I'm wrong.
All right, sure. All right, thank you for the notice, Mr. Ilyas. All right, let's move on to the next panel, which is Mr. Anubhav. Let's see what he has prepared for his answer about the implementation of SOP in Russia. So, Mr. Anubhav?
Oh, okay. Let's start. First of all, when I say Russia implemented one of the best anti-pandemic model in the world, around the globe, and what I can say is the Russia intercepted this pandemic situation before it even started, and the Russia implemented the total lockdown by keeping the interest of population in general. They did not create any kind of fuss around the public, around the population in general. And the best thing they did, the supermarket, the biggest problem faced by any lockdown situation, the supermarket thing. People are just killing each other to get even the basic commodities like toilet paper and all. But that's the only thing that I guess the only country in the world that didn't get in the fuzz. The supermarkets were working naturally, working their natural regime with enough of the supplies. The medical stores, one of the best important thing, it was working 24/7. And the last thing, that is the transport, which is the most notorious, most notorious for any kind of transmission of the infection. And the best thing they did, the Russian government, they implemented more traveling buses. So the density of the population will go down. And moreover, about the education institutions, we can say the teachers were working their best. The teachers were working their best even in the non-national schools, universities. They're working with their best with their all kind of technology they could be using, and they were doing. And as a medical student, I want to say, my study, my practical knowledge don't get hampered. The teachers were working and using mannequins. So which is mannequins, and I'm getting no, I'm a good doctor now. That doesn't mean just out of the joke. And the best thing, and the last thing I want to say, any government do implement set of rules, do whatever. But the only problem is that with the public, you have to follow the rules. Because for the government, you are just a graph. You are just a number. Today, this much people died. This much people recovered. This much people are walking towards the home. But even if one people die in the family, you are irreplaceable. You cannot be replaced by any way. So the best thing, you follow the rules, you follow the procedures, and you leave the house. Of course, everybody has the temptation to leave the house, running around the streets, but you cannot do that. It's not up to the government. Government can say, do anything, but you are just a number. Just keep this in your mind. You are very irreplaceable for your family. Okay? I already told I want to keep myself short and simple. So that's it.
All right, Mr. Anubhav. It is interesting to know that Russia keep the supermarket on for 24/7, also with the medical store open for 24/7. So even the educational sector keep fighting for the current generation to learn, to gain the knowledge, even in this pandemic, but they still keep struggling to ensure the students still, learning. So I pray for Russia to keep this effort and stay strong and also protecting its citizens in its best way. All right, so thank you, Mr. Anubhav, for the clarification on this topic. So for the final panel for this question, let us welcome Ms. Umaima to answer the question. So let us welcome her. Ms. Umaima.
Okay, thank you, Imran. So as we all know, in Malaysia, the first movement control order was enforced back in March 2020, right? So the MCO, or Movement Control Order, we call it as MCO, it was promulgated restriction of movements and activities under the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988 and Police Act 1967. So since March 2020 and up until now, June 2021, different phases of lockdown or SOPs were executed. So at one point, we had a full lockdown, then it became relaxed for a period of time, and now we're in our 3.0 lockdown, right? So under MCO itself, various measures were implemented that I think many countries have in common. First, we had prohibition of mass movements or gatherings, and that included religious, sports, social, and cultural activities. Then we had closure of business premises, except for daily necessities that we deemed was necessary for everyday use and needs services. And then we had closures of schools, kindergartens, and higher institutions of learning. So at one point, I, as a medical student, I'm in my second year, I was having a break, a really long break. I thought that was like about 1 to 2 months. So it was like a necessary break that we all had. And then we had spatial hotspots, or we consider as red zones, with high incidence of positive infections, which were like 40 cases or more would trigger an EMCO, or Enhanced Movement Control Order. And in this case, it indicated a full lockdown for every citizen in Malaysia. So such measures slowed local infections and enabled healthcare authorities to perform contact tracing. Okay, contact tracing, identify potential clusters for investigation, and optimize healthcare resources for screening and further treatment. So, and then the violators of the MCO regulations are subjected to penalties lah. Every kind of violators of the regulations would be subjected to any kinds of penalties under the penal code, which is under a federal gazette, and where violators may receive a penalty up about 1,000 ringgit Malaysia ringgit, and that would be about approximately $250 US, I think. So, and they could possibly receive up to 6 months of imprisonment. Okay, so these were what those violators of the MCO regulators would receive as penalties. So now I think we have been in our, we are now in our lockdown 3.0 for over a month. I can say that it has reached a plateau phase in which the cases are about a bit static. It's about ranging about 5K to 6K cases every single day. And in hopes that if we implement the MCO measures carefully and considerably, the cases would drop gradually, and maybe someday we would achieve again the single unit that we have achieved before. Yeah, and or maybe zero, even better. So right now it's currently in our third lockdown. Everyone is basically told and ordered to stay at home, but business premises are currently opened for those who are deemed daily necessities, and also small business people are allowed to open their businesses. So that is what happening in Malaysia, the MCO and the SOP that were implemented right now. So that is my answer for the question.
All right, Ms. Umaima. So the prohibition of mass gathering is really stressed by the Malaysian government, which is our government. So because it is the main cause for the rise of cases of COVID-19 in the first place. And we can see that Malaysia is also implemented the lockdown just like the other countries with penalties and so on. So thank you, Ms. Umaima, for your sharing. And I think that is the end of round one. So thank you to all the panels for giving us a wide view of the pandemic situation in each country. So ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the second topic, which is the heart and the main issue for today's program. How do your countries allow sports activities during the pandemic? And what kind of standard operating procedure or SOP is implemented to do sports? So for this round, let us welcome Mr. Anubhav as the first presenter to deliver his presentation. So the floor is yours, Mr. Anubhav. Mr. Anubhav?
Okay. Now, as I speak about the gyms and the parks, I'm talking about the central parks, only central parks, where people can gather so many people. That's it. As I speak about the gyms and the central parks, that were totally locked down. Even the entry gates were locked. That's it. And the best thing about Russia, near every community, housing community, there's a small park which was partially opened. Partially open means the gates were open, but the instruments over there were red taped by the government. So you cannot make any kind of physical contact with them. So this way, they can prevent the prophylaxis, prevent the spread of infection. And the best thing was that they introduced a jogging track inside the park, so people can jog. And of course, the people when jog, they don't hug each other. They don't. That's why they were jogging tracks were there, and there was a special marking over there, so people can stand over here. People can stand over here, and people can do the stretching and whatever physical activity they wanted to perform, and there was specified time. There was specified time, like for the young people, they can do this time to this time. For the middle-aged and for the older-aged. And for the older-aged person, only 10 to 12% were allowed at the time, because they were the most vulnerable people for the infection. And the slides were closed, and especially for the children were allowed below than 14 only with the parents. That's it. That's the standard operating procedure in Russia.
So, all right, Mr. Anubhav. So we can see that Russia locked the gymnasium, but the park is partially open, is it?
Yeah, community parks.
All right. So Russia introduced jogging tracks to still encourage the citizens to still proceed with their jogging schedule and to exercise and still keep themselves healthy. So I think that is a very good job from the Russian government in implementing SOP in sports activities. So thank you for the presentation, Mr. Anubhav. And now let us welcome Ms. Umaima for her answer to the second question. So Ms. Umaima, let's hear from you.
Okay, so all the regulations relating to sports activities were obviously different according to the cases at that time as well. So based on the type of MCO or movement control order executed at that time and the standard operating procedures or SOP associated along with it. So if you haven't known yet, or if you're ever curious, there are actually 7 types of official MCOs in Malaysia. So I just like to briefly tell you about the 7 types of MCOs in Malaysia. We have first the General Movement Control Order, which is most commonly known as the nationwide lockdown. So the MCO period was implemented in 4 phases with differing levels of restrictions as the number of infections nationwide slowly decreased. Second, we had the Conditional Movement Control Order, or the CMCO. This is at a point where there is a relaxation of regulations from the MCO phases. Its main goal is to basically reopen and recover the national economy in a controlled and conditional manner. So sports and recreational activities are allowed throughout the conditional MCO at this time, but with restrictions associated with the standard operating procedures. The activities that are allowed must be done individually and must not involve more than 10 people. Okay, so they must be conducted in open areas, and any such activity must be in compliance with the rules set by local authorities. So this includes obtaining the required permission to use the public facilities. Contact sports, however, in which sports that would need any physical contacts are not allowed at all. And then we have the Recovery Movement Control Order, the RMCO, and then the Enhanced Movement Control Order, or the MCO. This was the strictest movement control order and is akin to a total lockdown. So all activities are ceased during the implementation of the order. So any sports or recreational activities were not allowed. It was prohibited. In any cases, there's no trying to consider or whatsoever. So no movement in and out of the MCO areas are allowed also during the EMCO period. We also have the Targeted Enhanced Movement Control Order, and we also have the Administrative Enhanced Movement Control Orders. We have 7 types of MCOs that maybe you guys don't know about, but of course, different names bring about different regulations and rules associated with these standard operating procedures. So the Youth and Sports Ministry said permitted activities at this time includes jogging, cycling, and other forms of exercise. These should be conducted in neighborhoods or within the same district subjected to the current movement control order. Like I said, current. So it is always regulated to the current official movement control order given out by our government. Okay, so this is currently being enforced in the specific area. So maybe in that area, no MCO or maybe EMCO or whatsoever. And then contactless activities in open areas must comply, like I said, with the minimum physical distancing of 1.5 meters, right? I'm pretty sure everyone knows that. 1.5 meters along with the existing SOP for that particular area. So that is what's happening for Malaysia. That is how Malaysia implements any sort of sports and recreational activities. It's not saying that we do not allow sports at all. We understand and we believe that sports is very important for our mental health, for relieving stress and whatnot. So it is allowed, but at a certain point and certain circumstances. Yeah.
All right, that is a good explanation from you, Ms. Umaima. So as you heard from you, the sports rules are according to the type and the phases of the movement control order. All right. So at one time, sports are allowed, and another time, you even cannot allowed to go out from your neighborhood. So, but however, we must acknowledge that this is the government's effort to control the physical contacts of its citizens and to avoid the spread of COVID-19 to become even worse.
Correct.
So all right. So I think that is a very good job from the Malaysian government in implementing sports, even though they're implementing SOP in sports activities. So thank you again, Ms. Umaima, for the explanation. And next, let us continue to listen to Mr. Ilyas for his presentation in the second round. So please welcome Mr. Ilyas.
Okay, thank you. So I think it's pretty relatable with Malaysia, but if Malaysia have 7, we have 2. It named PSBB and PPKM. The PSBB is actually besar, mean big, and the PPKM is mean micro, in small. Yeah, you know. So we are right now implementing the PPKM, yeah, micro, because you know, I don't know why, but there is you know, because the PSBB, like I said before, there is a big economical downturn. So there is this PPKM, the a little bit not restrict than the PSBB. So about the sport, actually, 1 week ago, yeah, I just do some sport with my friend, basketball, and actually the regulation is pretty simple. So there is maximum of 50% of 50% of the maximal quota of the sports center, like basketball field or maybe futsal or maybe soccer, and there is temperature check, and then you must wash your hand, and then you cannot stay too long in that place, and then the place must be cleaned by disinfectant every time actually. And I think that's all. So there is no big restriction or something, but actually you can go to the gym, to the basketball field, and then but you must follow the regulation, that is the health protocol, like wear a mask, and then like I said before. So I think that's all in Indonesia. Not very it's pretty simple, I guess.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ilyas. So that is a very good explanation from you about how the government of Indonesia implemented SOP in sports activities. So even Malaysia has 7 types of movement control order, just like Indonesia, but Indonesia has 2. One is they allow sports to be conducted with low restrictions, and while the other one, you need to follow all the rules implemented by the government. Is it? Am I correct, Mr. Ilyas? Yeah. All right. So I think that's all from Mr. Ilyas' explanation just now. So for the final panel for this question, let's welcome Mr. Dylan to tell us how do your countries allow sports activities during the pandemic. So Mr. Dylan.
So our government implemented sports for, excuse me again, for different. Well, it was different for professional sport compared to amateur sport. When we first hit the first lockdown, all sport and contact with anyone outside your household stopped. Within 3 weeks of that, the Premier League season decided to continue playing, and for them, it was. If anyone in the comments knows more than me on this bit, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think they were tested 2 days before a match. And in order to play in that match, you have to give in a negative test. And they do lateral flow tests, which is like the quick test to take for COVID, every day at training to make sure no one's brought coronavirus into the training camp and all that. And it was a bit weird because it felt very much like professional football was the only thing going on. For students and working people, it was very different. The gyms were all shut, so there was no spread of coronavirus in exercise areas. Football for university and all sports at university, in that matter, were stopped, and they haven't started up since. There's only a few places now where full contact rugby is being played again. But other than that, for most things, it was very different to what the lockdown rules should have been. I personally think, however much I like football, I think all sport, if it's going to be stopped, it stops for everyone, professional, amateur. Just stop it. But it wasn't handled that way, and I can understand why. The government was losing a lot of money. The Premier League is a $1 billion organization. It brings in a lot of money for the UK. I see why they did it. But yeah, it was very different to what lockdown in general was for sport here. And now it's still the same thing with the Euros going on in Europe. Testing is being done every day to make sure the players don't get it. If a player does, then they're not allowed to compete with the team and they have to go home. And they have to isolate and all that stuff. So it was handled a bit weirdly. But yeah, that's how it was here.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dylan. That is a very brief explanation from you about the implementation of SOP in sports activities. So let's recap about what you said just now, which is professional sports are allowed, but the players, they need to be tested negative in terms of COVID infections. And that is a very good job from the England FA organization, is it? Yeah, in order to stop the COVID-19 from spreading among the players. That is a very good job. But amateur sports are stopped as a whole, is it? But in a few places, they were allowed, is it?
Yes. So amateur sport in general, as in competing for a team, was stopped. No one could do it. I wasn't allowed to play football for university.
Oh.
My friends weren't allowed to play rugby for their teams. And all the gyms were shut. But you were still allowed to, same as in Russia, you're allowed to go out for a jog or a walk, do some stretches outside. In very rare circumstances, public places were closed because you'd have school children who would meet their friends in large numbers, and that risks passing on the virus if they had it. But yeah, recreational activity was a weird 50-50 where you can't play for a team, but you can go on a run. You can't go to the gym, but you can stretch outside or at home.
Yeah, I see. So there are certain activities that are allowed, but still that is a very good way to avoid COVID-19 from spread even worse. So thank you, Mr. Dylan, for your presentation just now. So that is the end of round 2, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you once again to the panels for their presentation regarding the standard operating procedure. So now let's move on to the last topic, which is, does esport included as the alternative sports activities or programs in your university? And how frequent students participate in esports? So for the final round, let us welcome Mr. Anubhav as the first presenter for this topic. So Mr. Anubhav. Mr. Anubhav.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to say something. Whatever I say, I'm going to contradict myself sometimes later. Okay? I'm going to contradict myself sometimes later. And the right answer is that esports cannot be considered as an alternative to the physical sport. But in certain situations, in certain conditions, esports can be considered as a alternative to the sports. Something like, just take this pandemic situation. And people do what? Whenever we say something like word esports, people imagine a fat, nerdy looking guy sitting on a couch with a controller or joystick in his hand. just like me. Hey, I also play sometimes Call of Duty Warzone. That doesn't mean. And the problem is that there are so many alternatives for this esports. Like there are somebody's working on a virtual reality. Somebody playing on online stimulations, right? And what's the basic needed of the physical sport? The movement of the muscles, going your heart rate up, just to keep the. I'm not talking about the professional sports or amateur sports. I'm talking about the population in general, just to keep their heart and the body healthy. That's it. Just suppose there's a total lockdown. Sometimes because every country, when they just started the lockdown, first week to 2 weeks, there was total lockdown. What people gonna do? The basic reality, the harsh reality is that people wanna work out once, 2 days, 3 days, and the 4th day. End of the story. What? No one is interested. Let's be honest. And at this point, we can use what? We can channel our energy. How we can channel? Just take the virtual reality. You people are doing the boxing game. I also the people are doing the boxing. The people are doing people are doing the katana thing. And that's the certain movement. If people are doing such kind of things like a 30 minutes, even doctors suggest, if you want to keep yourself healthy, just do the 30-minute brisk walk. And that's the end of the story. That's it. You are just working out inside. And just suppose a very unfortunate blind guy who cannot do it. I also told like future conditions and certain situations. Just let's talk about a blind guy who cannot run, even in the general situation. Just put the headphones in his ear. He's doing the things in his audio. That's it. And as I talk about the esports in my university, people don't even know what the esport is. Okay, whenever I talk, like people many countries, like developed countries like America, South Korea, China, these are the tech giants. These are techie giants, and they are even. Esport is a kind of sports itself. It's not the alternative to the sport, and even these countries, the big countries like techie giants, they are giving the visas under their e-sport condition. And sports like, and in my, just as I talk about in my university, nobody knows about it. Nobody does like that. But people indulge in activities like poem reciting, cooking shows. That's it. That's all they are doing in the name of technology and esports kind of thing, which cannot even considered as a sport online. And I can say you the study of Texas University, which is held in 2017. The surgeons who were doing the esports, they are doing 33% less errors while doing the laparoscopic surgery. Understand? Laparoscopic surgery, they are making 33% less. Just you can imagine 33%. Even 33% can save at least 2,500 fibroids. Okay, that's not going to get it. So very simple. And many people in general, it's just stereotypical channel. People in general say things, esport is just a waste of time. It's not going to take you anywhere. And that's where they are wrong. Because the whole present and the future, it's all depends on the technology. It's all the technology right now. And esports can help you develop like features like graphic media designer, animators, a very best software engineer. We are working right now on Zoom by the different parts of the world, and we are coming together to share knowledge. It's just all the internet. It's just all the software. That's why I'm talking about. I'm totally in support of esports, but I'm not considering it as an alternative to the sport. That's all from me.
All right, thank you, Mr. Anubhav. So Russia still encourages people, the citizens, to do sports even in this pandemic in order to, to protect their health. But still, just how you said it just now, esports can also be another way for you to enhance your skills, just like you said in the research by Texas University. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the surgeons still can enhance their skills just by doing simulations, right? But I think that is a very good option to do, even though you are not allowed to do surgeons at the hospital, right? So I think that is for the esports. So I think the Russian government still want to reduce the COVID cases and also reduce the rate of diabetes or obesity. Just like you said just now, another option you can use, which is virtual reality, doing some exercises or play games like running or boxing. Okay, so that is also another way to reduce diabetes among the citizens.
And I'm telling you my personal experience, because I'm a boxer right now. I've been working boxing since the last 4 years, and during this pandemic, I was just boxing using the virtual reality, and it doesn't hampered my any skill. So you asked my opinion, I gave it to you.
Yeah, I see. So by the show of your body, I can guess that you are a boxer indeed. So you just train by using virtual reality, I guess, just like you said just now. That is
during the lockdown.
Yeah, so that proves that you still can enhance your skills just by using virtual reality. So yeah, all right. Thank you, Mr. Anubal, for your sharing just now. So now let us welcome Miss Umaima for answer to the third question. So Miss Umaima, let's hear it from you.
Okay, thank you. I actually agree somehow with Anubal. The esports culture, I cannot consider it as an alternative for sports. But it has been a debate as how esports can be considered as the actual sport itself, because basically the name itself is in there, esports, right? But usually we relate sports with physical exertion, right? So it has been an ongoing debate that I mean, personally, I consider esports not as a sport itself, but basically esport, tomato. All right. So I can say the esports industry has developed rapidly long ago. So rapidly since the year 2011, ranging from switching tournaments formats to redesigning the whole circuit systems. Many of the adjustments are still in effect. So like traditional sport itself, in-person tournaments and live events are a crucial part, right? But the esports is no exception to this. So some of the biggest esports, such as the League of Legends World Championship or Intel Extreme Masters. See, I did some reading about this. I'm not that good about this, but I did some reading. So this exceeds many major sporting events in both their grandiosity and production value. But due to safety restrictions, the majority of esports tournament organizers had to take the resolute to transfer their competitions online, right? So we all know that esports, technically, we see live competitions every single day. It's a big thing in our community, actually. But now, because of the safety restrictions, we had to transfer all of them completely online. So I wouldn't say that just because of the pandemic we are facing right now, that the esports has become something revolutionary right now. It has been like that since 2011. So there was also this data that I read from, I don't know when. It showed that after the first wave of lockdown enforced by countries all around the world in March 2020, Twitch experienced a 10% increase in viewership across various esports channels compared to the figures from the previous dates. So this trend maintained a static number throughout the whole year. So the whole aim of a traditional sport, as we all know, the whole aim of a traditional sport competition has always been to strengthen relationships between students within the same institution, right? I think we can all agree on that. So how has that been achievable? Well, studies prove that when you gather people with the same interests, they would have more things to interact about and communicate among themselves. So this comes by naturally. In this way, indirectly, students can build this invisible bond, like we say, between them and also with staffs of the same institution. Basically, esports brings us to the same objective, to strengthen that bond. So the only downfall to this is we aren't able to face each other at this time while doing so. But it has been significant. It has been a significant alternative, which has helped tremendously. All right. So also, if you agree with me or not, sports has been known to aid in mental health. Okay, so we all know release of endorphins during exercise triggers a positive feeling in the body, mimicking the similar action of morphine. Okay, so most of us, especially in this period of time, turn to video games to release stress. Basically, esports has no different than physical sports. It basically brings out the same mechanism of action and whatnot. They are achieved by how we engage and enjoy these video games. It kind of induces pleasure in our brains, right? So we feel good or euphoric due to thrilling experience. And however, enjoyment from chemical release is not the only reason for stress relief from esports. I believe that this physiological pattern in our brain called the triumph circuit. This is what I read, okay, which actually it rewards engagement. It rewards engagement. So our brain is wired to make us feel good when we overcome challenges. And usually we overcome these challenges in video games, right? So video games have hacked this circuit. They present us with a challenge and the tools to overcome it. And when we succeed, the feeling of satisfaction and competence are positive emotions that help counteract stress, right? I think. Okay, so students have been, personally in UiTM in Malaysia, students have been actively participating in every esports organized by our country since the start of our pandemic and up until today. So the percentages were very satisfying. And if the percentages were dropped or whatsoever, it would only be under the restrictions of the requirement of gadgets or internet accessibility. Other than that, feedbacks of the alternative were very much satisfying. And of course, we wouldn't say that it is an alternative to sports in general, but it's been something that has been debated and no one has won since then. So I can say that even though given the pandemic we are in right now, it hasn't really proved that esports is soaring up high. It has been like that since years before. So no change. It's just that people are more opting to another option, right? So that's why the percentages are very satisfying and everyone enjoys video games. I enjoy video games as well. I play PUBG, right? If you know about that. So I play that too, okay? And don't you try to stereotype that women do not play video games. We do play video games and we cuss a lot playing those video games. And that is the mechanism of us relieving stress. So that's it. I hope that answered the question though.
All right, so thank you, Ms. Umaima. I think that is a very lot of research you have done regarding esports, and you have broken the stereotype of women did not play esports. So yeah, that is I don't know how to say it. I should congratulate you or not. I don't know, but I think you have broken the stereotype. I think that is good for you. But just like you said just now, it is true that esports industry has been improving a lot. Okay, from just graphic designs, simple 2D, from having a major tournament, stages and all, beautiful trophies and rewards.
Right. Okay. Because following the trend right now, we are becoming more creative in organizing competitions online. So that's something I think we should all celebrate about ourselves, and every single organizers the whole country worldwide, basically.
Yeah, it does affect the whole world, I think, these esport, okay? So it is also exceed in terms of views rather than physical sports, okay? There is somehow I did read a research that they did a survey where actually views on esports tournament actually higher than the physical sports. Like football and all, but somehow the views on esports are somehow higher than the physical ones. So I think it does changes the norms in the society as well. So not to mention about esports, my university, which is our university, Umaima, we are going to hold a esports tournament, an international esports tournament conducted by the Committee of College Ratai. So in hopes that it will work out well. Okay, we are still in the progress of trying to find sponsors and all. So I hope that when the esports is ready to begin, we will somehow try to contact Indonesia or any universities out there to make the esports sound international. Okay, all right. So thank you again, Miss Umaima, for the answer to the question just now. So let's continue to listen to Mr. Dylan for his point of view on the third question. So, Mr. Dylan, let's hear it from you.
I completely agree with what's already been said before. Esports is no alternative to doing physical activity. However, as a video gamer myself, I enjoy Call of Duty, FIFA, Yeah, exactly. Your classic games. It's esports is one of those things where you don't consider it as a sport, but it has that reach like one. As people have said before, tournaments for games, World of Warcraft, League of Legends, massive spectacles. Millions of people watch and feel like they're involved. It's exactly the same as when you go to see a football game or a basketball game. Lots of people there, lots of people cheering because they enjoy it. The skill aspect of esports is a very interesting one. As said before, you have your VR, your virtual reality. You have all that other stuff to enhance skills. But what I find very interesting is the reach that esports can play from professional athletes to amateurs just watching. As you know, there are YouTube streams that go on about Warzone tournaments, and you have F1 drivers now who are streaming on Twitch. And F1 is a very interesting point for me. It's motorsport. It requires physical activity. You train your necks to withstand the G's, lateral G's. But then you have all these F1 drivers during lockdown have their own setups. They have their steering wheel. It's the same movements, steering, same tracks. And what I found really interesting is that all drivers use it as a way to stay sharp during the pandemic. All the tracks are the same, and I'm not sure if you guys know who Lando Norris is. Streams F1 on Twitch and uses that as a way to connect himself more during the pandemic to everyone outside. In regards to esports at my university, we have something called a student union. So it's the SU. I'm not sure if you guys have it where you are. And it controls all aspects of like clubs that go on in uni. So if you want to play football, you go to the SU and you pay to play for the uni team, basketball. You can join different communities. And to my knowledge, I think there is an esports community there. And our university does provide, there's a few tournaments, mostly on CSGO. I have some friends who play that. They stream as well. I think it's good that universities provide esports as something for people to join. As it's been said before, it's all about technology, and it connects people in a way, especially now, that we can't do. I mean, I would have never thought sitting in the United Kingdom speaking to all you guys. Some of you are thousands and thousands of miles away, and yet here we are on a Zoom call, listening and talking to each other perfectly. I think technology is amazing and has come a long way. And I only think it's going to get better. VR is only going to become more realistic. But again, it's no substitute for physical activity. If I have any wisdom for anyone, it's if you have a choice between going on a walk or sitting behind a desk playing video games for 6 hours, I'd say go on a walk. It is difficult now, especially with the lockdown, but this is what you have to do. You've got to cope, adapt, and that's what we do as human beings.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dylan. So I agree with what you said just now. Technology still kept going better. That's like how you said just now, we are able to sit in a room, in a meeting, in this Zoom meeting, to talk and listen to each other. Okay, I agree with that. But still, even though esports kind of give us a feeling of doing physical sports as a whole, but it is still fun to do. So because it gives us that rush of adrenaline, like just how Miss Umama said just now, gives us a sense of pleasure. Okay, so with that way, it gives us a higher chance to protect our mental health during this pandemic. So I think that is a very good explanation from you, Mr. Dylan, for the exposure regarding esports in your country. So, and for the final panel for this question, let's welcome Mr. Ilyas to give his presentation for this final round. So the floor is yours, Mr. Ilyas.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'm really amazed by the speech from Mr. Anibal and then Ms. Sumaima and also Dylan. And I also agree about the esport is not a replacement because it's a bit different, but I agree that esport is a sport. Like, chess is also a sport, bridge is also a sport, but it's honed us in the another, if we talk about sports, maybe the first came to our mind is muscle and then, health and then, but the esport is honed us in the another thing like reflexes and then how we, relieve stress or maybe just having fun, like just Miss Umaima said. But I think it's not just relieving stress because I'm also a Valorant player myself. And, I'm not playing it for I'm not stressed at the first time. I just play it for fun. And I'm pretty sure that we don't have to be stressed at the first time. So it's just for having fun. And like you have said, Imran, there is also a biggest event in ITB, Institut Teknologi Bandung, biggest sport event in the ITB, that is TPB Cup. TPB Cup is, the like a sport festival for the first year student. And before the COVID-19, this event is, held like basketball and then soccer, badminton, and many more. But because the COVID-19 pandemic, the committee decided to change the sport into an esport. Like last year, they play Mobile Legends and then PUBG. So in ITB, actually, the esport is pretty popular. And there's also one organization that is focused on esport called ITB Esport. Yeah, you guys can check it on Instagram, and it's pretty active. You can see that big participation of students in ITB because university life is pretty tough, I guess, and it's pretty fun to have a little your time, me time, by doing some esport. And I guess that's all what esport do in ITB. And lastly, I think for the if UiTM wants to collaborate with ITB about the gaming, I think it's very, very possible because in ITB itself, they have actually that event, TPB Cup. I think that is pretty possible for us to collaborate.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ilyas. So just like how you said just now, esports can be a sport to enhance our mood during this pandemic. And your committee in your university, there is a committee in your university that conducted esports event for its students to participate and also release some stress, make some memories in their university life. Right? Am I correct, Mr. Ilyas?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, I think that is a good job from your university in terms of esports. So that is a very good explanation for you, Mr. Ilyas. So I think that is all for round 3. So thank you to all the panelists for their sharing related to the last topic for today's program. So for me, it is interesting to see other countries' ways of allowing sports to be possible during this pandemic situation caused by COVID-19. Well, we have our own ways, but still, it is a good way to avoid COVID-19 from spreading even worse. So I think that's all for the topics for tonight. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the Q&A session. So you are welcome to type your question in the chat box, or participants can open your mic to ask one of the panels and they will try to answer it.
Hello.
All right, Saiful.
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Dylan. So my question is, before the pandemic, individuals tend to get involved with physical sport, which is undoubtedly benefit of our mental and physicality. However, during this current pandemic, the majority of people choose to play esport. So what is your opinion if most people normalize esport in their daily life, even after the pandemic has ended? It is good or bad things? So this is for me. Thank you.
Hi, it's a great question. I think from the way that esports has progressed and has been increasing for a many number of years, that I think it can only be a good thing that esports is continued after the pandemic to the extent that it is now. I think, yes, as I've said, it's not a substitute for physical activity, but as the other panelists have also said, it brings a lot of people together. If you are struggling or you have mental health issues, depression, stuff like that, if you can turn around and go to a friend in a different country, do you fancy playing a game of COD? Do you fancy playing a game of FIFA? You can sit there for an hour, 2 hours, maybe not even that, maybe 15 minutes, and all you think about is how fun it is for you to sit there and play. So I'd love for esports to continue being used as much as it is right now after the pandemic, and I think it's only a good thing.
All right. So other questions?
Hello.
All right.
Okay, I got a question for Mr. Anubhav. During this pandemic thing, do you personally see people in Russia do sports? And if so, what kind of sport did they do? And if no, why do you think so? Thank you.
Okay. If I say personally, yeah, I saw many Russian people doing sports activity because there's a sports station nearby, and Russian peoples are very fond of sports, because as we know, every year whenever the Olympic held in any corner of the world, the most if any country, the most people to get the medals are from Russian. Russia produced the best UFC fighters, Russia produced the best boxers, and Russia produced one of the best wrestlers. So that's it. And yeah, and most of the people who don't indulge in kind of sports, I can say younger peoples who belong to the age group of 18 to 24. Because I seen it myself. They don't indulge, even if they do sitting around there chatting with the girls, or many people are So I saw some girls, they're chatting with each other, even whenever they came out just for the sports. The boys just doing nothing, just smoking around. So there's no, and people who after the 24, and even the best thing, the old people over here from 60 plus, they sometimes they look even more fitter than me. It's a very good thing. So yeah, Russian people do sports, but sometimes we cannot say about all of them. Whatever I saw in my eyes, I say it to you. That's it. That's the end of the story.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Anubhav, and also Mr. Dylan just now. So other questions?
I have a question for Mr. Ilyas Bianto. So ATB has conducted esports event during this pandemic, right? So is there any sports event conducted by your university during this pandemic, excluding the esports?
Okay. First, I want to make the things clear about the esport event. Actually, the esport event is not literally held by the ETB, but it's actually held by the committee, which is which is the college student also, and there is actually some event of sport, not an esport, held by ITB. That is a virtual run. I'm pretty sure we already heard it much. And then, I think just that. And there is a 1 year student activities that is a class of sport, and they change it from doing together to doing it in their home and sending their video of doing exercises to YouTube and let their teacher to check their progress. I think that's all from ATB.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Ilyas. So any other questions to ask to our dear panels?
I have a question.
All right. Go on, Ms. Moima.
I have a question to Mr. Dylan. This is a question from a friend of mine, and he asked me to relay the question to you, so I have no choice but to do so. Okay, so what is your favorite English Premier League team and why? So that's the question.
Well, I'm either going to be liked a lot or not liked a lot after I answer. I was born and grew up. I was born in Leicester, so Leicester City is my Premier League football team. I will support them till the day I die. There's no other reason than me being born there to support Leicester City. I live with a Manchester United fan and a Chelsea fan, so there's constant arguments in this house. And that's good, but it's Leicester City till I die, and that's how I plan on staying until I'm 80, 90, whatever.
I mean, I won't judge, but maybe the others would. But yeah, okay, thank you for answering the question.
All right, nice one from Mr. Dylan. So, all right, so I see there you're a fan of Leicester, I see. Well, I am a fan of Chelsea, so yeah, so I think that's all I just want to say. But okay, any other questions to be asked to our panels?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Okay. So first of all, my name is Muhammad Haziq Aiman. I am from UiTM Shah Alam, studying in computer science. So I think I will give my question to our Malaysian panelist, Miss Umaima. So my question is, as we know right now, our country current COVID-19 cases are really high. So I want to know what is your suggestion or what is your opinion to encourage students to do sport, even though currently going through the the movement control or the MCO. So yeah, that is my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Haziq, for the question. Okay, so I think we need to know that exercising regularly is very important, and doing sports is one of them, basically. So basically, stretching and whatnot is exercising, but doing sports is doing something that you're very passionate about and actually associating with exercise, and it maintains your health in a way. So I mean, even though the pandemic is right now restricting a lot of sports to be done, especially physical contact, I believe everyone in here, all the boys in here especially, they like football. They like those physical contact involving sports and whatnot. Okay, Anuba, no, okay, it's okay. But majority of the people that I've met, you guys would prefer football or rugby or any kinds of sports that would involve physical contact and anything according to that. But right now, even though that we are restricted doing all of that and we are basically allowed to do jogging and cycling and whatnot, we need to know that that is also an important aspect to maintaining our health. So even though the pandemic is restricting us to stay at home and doing and basically the alternative that is the most easiest to us is video gaming, that is still not considered as sports. So please do not take that as something for you to maintain your health. As you all know, we should all always know that a good thing, when you do it too much, it's bad, right? So even though right now we are celebrating esports and whatnot, celebrating how creative we've become in increasing the design, the execution and whatnot, too much of a good thing will turn bad, right? So exactly, even if I would just say that even if given the restrictions and whatnot, we should do the most out of a given situation. So let's say we've been given the fact that we were only allowed to jog and cycle. Use that amount of time, use that permission to do so and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone in here would agree with me that sports is the easiest way for you to relieve stress and to maintain a good health, other than maintaining a good diet. So please do that, and don't for a second think that just because of the pandemic we are in, it restricts you to not exercise at all. Okay, so just a simple stretch outside of your house in your neighborhood would suffice, but don't stop completely. Okay, I hope that answered the question. I'm so sorry. I'm not a sports person myself, but I do some workout sometimes. So thank you for the question and whatnot.
All right, thank you, Ms. Umaima. So any other questions to be asked to the panels? All right, so if there is no question from the participants in this Zoom meeting, let us proceed to hear the questions from the YouTube comments. So here we have a question for Mr. Ilyas from Abby. She asked that, does the university or clubs that held the esport provide any tokens or rewards to the students that participate in esports or any competitions?
Yeah, and it's surprisingly high. Yeah, it's as simple as that. And that's why the participant is, they're very happy to hear about this ITB esports thing. And yeah, there is a big prize for the winner.
I see. So have the club ever done an international esports competition?
As far as I know, no, because it's more of internal activities in ITB. So there's still no, progression to international. But I think it's because the ITB sport itself actually pretty new group of people who thinks that esport is good, and then they'll try to grow it. So I think it's in progress. Maybe it could have an international event, but I still pretty not sure about possibilities. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ilyas, for the answer. So let's hear another question from Mr. Hazmi. So he asked that, this question is for Mr. Anubal. So he asked that, in terms of esport, elders do think that playing games is not a sport. So how can you convince them if you are in this situation? Ms.
Only
Anwar?
way, the only way, just introduce them to the sports.
I see. So, is
That's
that,
that's the only way. Because until you just let's take a simple example. If you don't go to the neighboring street, how can you explain what kind of shops, what kind of street that is over there? That's a simple thing. Introduce them, and I can give you an example. In China, the highest old guy, nearly he's in his 70s. He's an ex-taxi driver, and he is having approx 3 to 4 million subscribers in YouTube, and he just drives the taxi, online stimulation. He does the streaming, he's the car racing. That's it. So
I've seen that. I've seen that.
Yeah, just give them
it's great.
just give them such kind of examples. Introduce them to esports. That's the end of the story. You cannot do anything else apart from that.
all right, thank you, Mr. Nova. I think that is a very good solution from you. And the video about an old man driving in a taxi, racing, that is very impressive. I will check on that video later. That is very impressive. I never heard of that.
You should be.
Yeah, both of you, Mr. Nova and so Mr. Dil have watched the video. Well, I must watch that video. Yeah, it's very impressive to hear that. So, all right, next question we have from Shafi3. So the question sounded like this. I have a question for our handsome panel from England. How is the SOP inside the football stadium in terms of the audience and players? And is it too strict according to you?
Thank you for calling me handsome. I will take it. The SOP inside the stadiums, it's for people. It's different. We have a rule that's come in dictating how many people you're allowed inside a stadium. So if you take Wembley, for example, our national stadium, it holds 90,000 people. For these Euro games, it's slowly going up towards the final. The final were allowed 60,000. For our group games, we were allowed, I think, I could be wrong here, but I think it was between 20 and 40,000 people in the stadium. And it's just to make sure that people aren't spreading the virus, and there's enough space between people inside the stadium to maintain social distancing. For a lot of sports, it's like that now as well. For the players, it's all about maintaining the program they're on already, whereas they're being tested every day to make sure you've not picked it up from going to the supermarket and touching something and then touching your face, or you've let someone that shouldn't be in your bubble in your bubble. It comes with fines. There was a incident recently, I'm not sure if anyone saw it, where a Scottish player, after their game with England, tested positive for coronavirus.
Is it Billy Gilmore?
Billy Gilmore, yes.
Yeah.
He tested positive for COVID-19 and was told to isolate, resulting in two England players, Ben Chilwell and Mason Mount, who both play for Chelsea, as well as Billy Gilmore, to isolate as well. There was a lot of uproar with it because they provided negative tests showing they don't have it, but were still told to isolate. That's basically the gist of it. Keeping social distancing in stadiums is probably the most important thing until the majority of the population has been vaccinated, and making sure that the players stay on the same track as they have been throughout lockdowns and the whole pandemic, really.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dylan, for the answer about the SOP in the stadium. I think, SOP is very important, even though the game must go on, because audience requires the game to go on because they were waiting for this for a long time. So, but still, SOP is important, and just like you said, there is proof that COVID-19 still exists in the stadium. Unexpectedly, out of nowhere, players get involved by the positive cases of COVID-19. So any other questions from person in this room, in this Zoom meeting? Because we have already ended with the questions that were chosen from the YouTube comments. So any other questions in the Zoom meeting?
Mr. Imran?
All right, go on.
Not a question, but
right.
just something to say to Mr. Dylan.
All right.
Just a short and simple one. Thank you for Harry Maguire and all the best for this coming season. And stay safe.
You are very welcome. Thank you for the 80 million you paid for him. We will take that gladly. I wish you all the best in the new season. I hope you're happy, as I'm guessing you're a United fan, with the almost inevitable signing of Jadon Sancho. I wish you all the best in the season, but we'll finish above you this year.
Oh, all right. This is a very heated situation we're in. But yeah, for information, Dylan, we have a very lot of Manchester United fans and also Liverpool fans in Malaysia, as you know. Okay, there's a lot of them, especially Manchester United and also Liverpool fans. So Leicester, Chelsea, and all other clubs, can be found, but not that much. So yeah, so I think that is very heated situation just now, but I think that's okay. You know, we have a friendly chit chat right here. But still, thank you, Mr. Dylan, for the answer. Okay, but any other questions to be asked before I end this Q&A session? All right, so I assume there's no question to be asked to the panels. So thank you to our panelists for giving their time to answer the questions for the audience. And now we are getting close to the end of our time together. But before that, I have one last question for all the panelists, especially for me. Okay, for if there is one thing you would like the audience to take away from this session, what will it be? So let's start with Mr. Dillaflower.
Oh, that's a big question. One thing I'd want people to take away from this panel, stay healthy, do your exercise, but also enjoy your time with your friends, if that be on video games, phone calls, texts. Enjoy your time. We have, the way I see it, we have one life. We only get to do it once. Live it, love it, be happy. If you ever feel down, your family and friends are always a phone call or message away. And all of you do your best to stay safe. Try not to catch coronavirus. I know it's easier said than done, but be healthy and stay safe. If that's the only thing you take away from this, then fair enough.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dylan, for your very great reminder just now. So now we'll continue with Mr. Anubhav. Let's hear from him.
Okay, I have 2 points. Okay, first of all, vaccinate yourself. Because people around the world, like if you vaccinate, you're going to get pain, you're going to get the temperature. Of course, you're going to get it. This is what they are supposed to make you. Because when you got the vaccination in your childhood age, like age of 2, 3, or 4, of course, you're not going to remember that. When you had even for the hepatitis vaccine, this is what it's supposed to be. You're going to get the inflammation and the temperature, you're getting the body temperature up. That's the key factor for the inflammation. So don't fall for any kind of false information. Go vaccinate yourself. I have vaccinated myself. Nothing happened to me. I'm alive. I'm talking to you. Okay. And second thing, don't be a mouse in the wheel. If you're working out, you're e-sport player, you are a gym guy or any kind of thing, don't be a mouse in the wheel. Just keep running the simple thing. Just keep running on the simple thing. Try different things. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Be a traveler, be a gamer, be an archer, do whatever you can. That's it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Anubal, for your very great advice just now, especially about the vaccination. So, all right.
Okay, and the last thing, spend time with your family, cause I'm literally telling you this. You will someday, I don't think so, you should be regretting, but someday you would be regret that you didn't spend enough time for the family. And the last of all, the only thing, they're gonna help you. So spend time with them.
All right, thank you, Ms. Anubal, again, just now for the very great advice to the audience, and especially about the vaccination. For those who are hesitate to take the vaccine, we have proof right here from a doctor to be. All right, he already in his final years in his medical studies, so there is already proof from the right source. So don't hesitate to take the vaccine. Try different things. Okay. So also spend your time with your family, even though we're in a lockdown. Have a great time with your family. All right. So now let's continue to listen to Mr. Ilya's advice to the audience.
Okay. For me, I think it's special for the college student who are still learning from home. I think it sucks when we must to learn in our home. Like, and as a civil engineering student who have many practice and doing online is pretty suck for me. But you know, there is always something a hidden message that we need to take in this event. Like just Mr. Anubal said about the family time. Yeah, there is I never, appreciate time together with friends or family as much as now, because, after part of from my friend and from my family, like months, year, and then I think now I appreciate the time as much as I can, because sometimes you know how precious something when you lose it, and I think all of us must learn from this event. And we need to stay strong. We need to listen to our government, and because we must trust each other right now. We must trust the government doing their best. But if we still splitting to other groups, and then there is even a sector of people who didn't even believe about COVID in Indonesia. I don't know in other country, but there is still people who don't believe in COVID. But if there is still, difference in purpose, I think it's pretty hard for us to, work together in this event. So all for me is we must to, stay together, stay strong, and stay healthy and stay happy. That's all from me.
All right. Thank you to our panel from our neighboring country for those kind words, and for also a very good advice to be given to the audience. And also, just like you said, take your time and also do any activities that you can during this lockdown. Okay. So try something new. All right. So I think that is a very good advice from Mr. Ilyas. So lastly, let us listen to the hosting countries panel, which is Miss Umaima. Can you give a little bit of advice to our lovely audience?
Okay, so I think the first advice I would like to give is to do our part in ending this chain. So we are all in this together. We have to always think about the ones closest to us, but in a way, we are all in this together. There's no thinking about it individually or personally. We would affect so many parties in any decisions that we make. So please do abide to the rules and regulations of standard operating procedures in each country or whatsoever. And also, as what Anwar said, of course, medical students think alike. Please do take your vaccines. It's one of responsibility, I believe, that you should try to do, and I think you should do that. And another part is that because I am a student representative, I hear so many, complaints and, heart-to-heart confessions from these students. I believe that online distance learning is very hard. It's very hard. But given the circumstances that we are in right now, it's all to protect our safety, for your safety and for my safety and for our safety together. So in this case, I know it's hard, but please, if you need someone to talk to about, you need to talk to someone, or you need a professional or just a friend to tell what you are thinking and what you are feeling, please do feel free to find anyone, And usually we would find someone that would face the same struggles as we do, so that they would understand us better. So in this case, we wouldn't find our parents, right? Because they wouldn't understand. So please, if you feel like telling a friend would help in your studies, do so. And for everyone that is under UiTM Shah Alam that has my contact number, please do know that if you have the need to contact me and if you feel comfortable talking to me, please do so. It's okay. So yeah, again, I would say stay safe to everyone. And this kind of program is a great initiative. It helps us to share opinions and discuss about different things that is happening in every single country. So I am rooting for these kind of programs in the future. And so kudos to College Teratai for organizing this kind of program. I believe it has been a fruitful session. And thank you. Also, it was a nice session meeting up with Anuba, Dylan, and also Ilyas from different countries. Maybe I've said something wrong, but I'm sorry on my behalf. And yeah, thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity to be here. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Miss Umaima, for giving your precious advice to our lovely audience. Just like you said just now, even we know that learning in ODL is somehow very hard because it is something new. But still, if you have problems, just try to find someone to talk to. It will make you feel better. Okay. So thank you, Miss Umaima, for that precious advice to our lovely audience. So, ladies and gentlemen, finally, we have come to the end of the program. So we would like to say thank you to the panels for the interesting sharing and ideas, and also to all the audience that participated in today's program. So hopefully today's discussion will be beneficial for everyone, and thank you for your attention. Until we meet again, farewell.
Okay.
Imran, I have from a start ya. Wait. Okay. Pergi tamasya ke rumah Ria. Pas di jalan ketemu Papa. Tetap senang, tetap bahagia. Terima kasih dan sampai jumpa.
Oh, there's a very nice one. There's a very nice poetry from you.
Maybe you can translate to Mr. Dylan and Mr. Anubhav if they didn't understand about the Malayu or
of course they don't understand. All right, but still, to Mr. Dylan and Mr. Anubhav, it means that he is he is giving a gratitude and also thanking us a lot. Okay, but that is just the meaning of the whole poetry. So thank you, Mr. Ilyas, for giving that poetry just now to all of us from Malaysia. So that is a lovely poetry to hear. Well, any other messages to be given from other panels?
I've got one. Thank you for this panel. I think it's been great. It's been nice to hear everyone's opinions from lockdown and all that. Just thank you. It's been great to be a part of it. Well done. It's been brilliant. That's all I have to say. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dylan. I also feel I also appreciate that you're willing to volunteer yourself to join this event. And that is a very helpful thing to do, because we are also having a hard time to search to look out for panels to join our events, and that is a very courage act from you. So thank you, Dylan, for joining this event. So, Ms. Anubhav, do you have anything to say?
I have actually. So actually, I'm feeling very, very, very fortunate to sharing the screen with you people, lovely people around the world. So I'm very happy for that. So for last, I want to say namaste and the Svidanya in Russian. Namaste, all of you, whoever
All right.
watching me. Okay.
Namaste. All right, thank you, Anubhav, for your words to all of us. Okay, there's a lovely thing to say, and I hope I hope that we all see each other soon together in another event maybe. But still, if the COVID-19 or the pandemic end, why not? Okay, or you guys try. Okay, we would like to invite you to come to Malaysia in another event maybe someday to your UiTM. Okay, visit Malaysia. Go to some places. We'll take you. All right, there's a lot of places you can go in Malaysia, and also in your UiTM, there's also in your UiTM it's a very big area. Your UiTM in your UiTM is already big, so you can do a lot of things in your UiTM. So one day we would like to invite you to come here and also take you to some places, exciting places. There's a lot of things.
I would be more than happy to do that.
All right,
and I will eat. I'm a very foodie kind of guy, so I will eat some tom yum, whatever is that.
Oh yeah.
With a green lime and a white rice.
Also, you knew about tom yum. Okay, that's nice. That's nice.
I'll bring you that.
Yeah, of course.
I want some too.
Okay, no problem.
Sure, Dylan. So
don't forget the green lime.
Yes, green lime. That is a very important ingredient. So Dylan, have you tried any Malaysian dish before?
I've had quite a lot of Malaysian food. I used to go to Malaysia for sporting competitions. So I was there quite a lot. I never picked up the language of hello, goodbye, all that stuff. I was kind of isolated, but Malaysian food is brilliant. It's just awesome. Just every food is awesome. So
that's a big compliment. I agree. Thank you, Dylan.
Then don't come to Russia.
There's a very good
offense.
All right.
Then don't come to Russia if you're a foodie.
All right, so to our dear audience, if you're still here, okay, make sure to wait for a bit because we are going to share to you to share the QR code for you to scan, for you to claim your certificate afterwards. So thank you for your participation, dear audience.
Okay. So it's time to say goodbye.